welcome to Politica Show on Lines Wire. Today is February 21st, and we are gonna have a discussion on current politics with Ilya Levkov. Ilya, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you to our listeners and viewers. Thank you for your loyalty and for your remarks. I gladly will read them and in hopes that I can improve my delivery of my mini lecture and I will be more cogent and you will have more fun with it.
Yes, and we hope our listeners are going to be leaving comments as much as possible on their opinions. Ilya, in the past week, we've been witnessing a big change in Trump's attitude towards Ukraine and Russia, Ukrainian and Russian war, particularly personal remarks that Trump made towards Zelensky are very remarkable. It's a big change, very unexpected, I would say, and we would like to know where it's going and what's going on. What's your opinion?
Yes, my opinion, I'll try to present right now, but just a few words about the background. During his first administration, 1720, Trump was on the side of Ukraine. He even initiated the initial step of military support, which Biden brought to life only 6-7 months thereafter. Instead of March 21, he did it in October, November 21. So there was here some kind of invitation for Putin to test how his new president, i.e. Biden, implements what was left by Trump. Since it was not implemented, and because there was a big snafu by leaving the Afghanistan, as we all know, so Biden decided for sure that here is a chance to open an invasion to Ukraine and try to conquer as much as possible. His very, very developed intelligence in Ukraine and huge money of billions of dollars that went to create it and support it and all, etc., did not work. He hoped, with you we remember, to conquer Kiev into 3 days. They were already planning to have a parade in the downtown of Kiev. All this didn't happen. Yes, Ukraine was fighting for their soul and for their homeland and succeeded to slow down, then the stop down, and then to turn into offense against the Soviet invaders. Putin, by the way, called it an operation, a local operation.
Ilyush,
But
when you are saying Soviet, you mean Russian invasion?
Russian
Yes.
invasion.
Small
Please forgive me.
Yeah.
Yeah, too much memories, too many memories. So, in this, therefore, what interesting is, let's understand now, suddenly, last 10 days, let's say it's the most, Trump changed his position, i.e., he calls it not a war, but an invasion, a local invasion. He thinks that if he would have been the president, this would not have happened. That's also a kind of a psychological profile, a bit of psychological profile, where Uh, b- uh, but Trump thinks that it would not have happened. It's not so easy. He is not in control of Putin completely, you know. Maybe Putin would have hesitated. For sure, Putin has his uh, profile, emotional, psychological, personal profile of Trump, and he knows he's a fist fighter, and he ready to hit below the belt. But Biden is was far from being this kind of a leader and president, and therefore it's all moved. Yes, maybe we cannot say that Putin would not have moved against Ukraine if Trump, but Trump would have blocked it uh, clearly where it was not done by Biden. Biden also twice sent the head of the CIA to meet with the Russian intelligence, twice in Russia, and they, in a way, came to such agreement, which was formulated, as we recall, by Putin, said it's a local invasion, and Biden acceded to this definition, which of course gave a green light when the United States says it's just a limited local operation. It's more than a green light. It's a 5 green lights that you can start your agent and rush into Ukraine with tanks and the rest of the soldiers. So this was on the onset. So Trump was talking before the election and after the election of 2024, said he remained in the position to be a defensive and a friendly, and he is against occupation, you know. But somehow, something, he turned I don't know what, another part of the brain or whatever, and he sided with many things spoken by Putin. And I'll give you two, three things uh, for one hand, and additional material which is also kind of ignited the burning woods and the burning tanks, who knows what else burning. And this is that he is Trump. Trump was thinking that he must have, that the explanation was, there are several explanations. One was egotistic, and he is, we all know, egocentric to say, not egotistic, extremely egocentric, and he also is open to compliments. He is not fishing, he's harpooning compliments. So, and of course, as I said, Putin has his emotional and psychological profile in detail, in great detail. So therefore, uh, he, after that is about 2 weeks ago, Putin, two names and names, I'm mixing them up. Uh, Trump switched. Something happened. He switched. Something happened in his head because he continued with those ideas. There was nothing happened. But it's a long story. I don't want to go there. Both uh, Putin, Putin has his own private intelligence service. It's not the FSB and the rest of them, and SVR, etc. It is his private, and it's being headed by a young fellow who is related to the family of Putin. He lived in the United States and studied, so he's a young guy and understanding, and Putin seems to be listening to him because he showed to be more credible and more in tune to gain those goals political and strategical for Putin.
Do
Now,
you know his name?
yes, it's jumped out of me. Starts with D. Maybe, you know what? Maybe I will. I know I don't want to uh, go through my list. Give me 1 second. Maybe I will have. I don't have it. D. And on the maybe. Okay.
You can look it up later and let me know, Will.
Yes. All right. I could of course give it to you. D. And the same on the same, there was this foxiness on part of Trump, how to explain his behavior. That is, he got crazy, but he is not crazy. He is rational in all other fields of his pursuit of controlling the U.S. policy. He, of course, um, Trump also used it not occupation. He didn't use the word occupation of Ukraine. And the second element could be simply folk. He tried to position Putin in a to corner him,
Hmm.
and therefore he now got all the kind of energy, emotion that Putin maybe already popped champagne, bottles of champagne, and here and now we, on February 21st, maybe there will be tomorrow even some deal with Ukraine. So I think he's a tricker. He tricked, I would say, the best. That is not to call him completely a turncoat, but I think, and I stated so several days ago, said one of the options. I didn't say it will happen. I had no base to be so definitive and crisp that this was a dealing and knowing something. By the way, how he deals with in previous on in his autobiography, The Art of the Deal, it shows that he tries to get the most from this thing. This was an assumption, and some another element which was very often quoted though by irresponsible people said his only goal is to get the Nobel Prize for Peace. This what is missing. I don't think ever the Swedish Academy, which just joined NATO, to get defense from the West from Putin, would give them the Nobel Prize for Peace. This was simply a silly idea, but which was floating and utilized by many people. Now, among other things, so this was called the diversion against Putin and his supporters. I just give you what people are thinking, who are his supporters. They, the Professor Mearsheimer, very anti-Putin, a kind of a cold realpolitik. Tucker, which the only one who got those, who got two two times interview. No Western journalist got two times because he had even so-called silly pro-Putin um, views about Putin, and I'll give you two of them. He said long time ago, about 7-8 years ago, said Putin said Ukraine was not a democratic party. Ukraine,
Not
it
democratic
was
state.
before a state, but of course, democratic state. Plus, I have to switch my drinks to something
Go softer.
mightier, and uh, and um, and even the churches, Tucker doesn't understand. he's a smart Alec, but he is a little bit above his head. He thinks that he can command any general, even if they're wrong and they're right, But still, he was a little bit authoritarian. Yeah, I would say so. Carl Tucker, who positioned himself as to be the moral post of the U.S. politics, had many mistakes in this field, especially. And that one of them was, let's say, that Putin closed the churches in Ukraine. It's nonsense. First of all, there are two churches.
Zelensky.
There is the Russian,
Zelensky closed one or two churches, yeah.
yeah, yeah. No, but it's Zelensky close. He accused him. Said it was there was a Ukrainian Orthodox Church, but there was another split, Russian Orthodox Church. But of course, Russian Orthodox Church was extremely under the control of Putin and his intelligence services. So, in any case, and he somehow Tucker explains it. Zelensky is not worth to defend. This was long first years of Zelensky as he just began to do all that. Now, there are some Americans that like him, McGregor, even Musk is being accused. Well, he's clearly pro-Trump. There's no question about it. In any case, so we have this peak of accusation, and the entire world was bewildered. Remember this from the song, bewildered and bewildered. Am I? Okay, we'll not go there today. So, in any case, there was this issue. Really, what happened with that Zelensky and Trump? Because then there was this issue of how much money United States gave to Ukraine, gave and received. Trump floated the number 350 billions. Zelensky and more serious accountants in this field, they said it comes up to 100. So, but for this to have a friendly chat, Trump demanded those rare earth materials in the amount of 500 billion from Ukraine, where Zelensky told him it's total 100. The errors it made Zelensky is when the number was then not 5, the amount was set at 300, 350. But then he said, where the 100 billion went? And he said, I have no idea. Of course, he invited then the additional pressure from Trump and his supporters. So this is where we are, where during the last 2-3 days, that is, we have kind of a rapprochement, in numbers, and the following thing, that United States will get access to those rare materials. I can talk about them separately if you wish later on. But meanwhile, it will be in the amount, and Trump demanded 500 billion, where he gave to Ukraine 100 billion only. And it's also enlarged. Actually, the military in Ukraine received a little bit less than $27 billion. $27 billion. Suddenly, in this free and irresponsible world, got to be 350, and then Trump raised it to make the round amount is $500 billion. It reminds me the old Prime Minister of Israel, Levi Eshkol, who was before that a finance minister before he, and then he would usually say, you know, all those people demand here, there, enlarge and right, million here, million there, and very soon we are talking about big money. The same thing happened in our age of internet where everybody was free to raise it. Now, the most thing was that people, especially the supporters of Trump, could not comprehend what is going on. How could he, you know? So as I told you, there were four options, and it was a part, of course, to be foxiness of Trump because he deals. This is his spécialité de la maison, as the French people say in French restaurant. You know, the other thing is or the diversion against Putin, and it seems to me because uh, Zelensky wanted to grant United States those rights and even to grant them some bases if they will defend Ukraine for a period. No, would you guess
No.
for how long Zelensky asked to be defended by the army of the United States?
Now,
I'll help you
please do.
because we are old friends.
Yes, please do.
3 years only. Do you hear? Now, this is a very interesting, and very meaningful. Most people don't know. Ukraine has developed a called a subterranean production and technology of drones. Those drones they're simply unbeatable, made by 4 or 5 mini factories in Ukraine, and it costs peanuts to make them. And even Elon Musk want to be a part in promoting this technology. So Ukraine quite sure if US will defend Ukraine on a Ukrainian territory, and at the same time, right now already, Ukraine has conquered quite a sizable piece of territory of Russia, and their drones fly hundreds and hundreds kilometers to bomb the infrastructure of the oil and gas industry of Russia. In addition to this, as you know, the Russian pipe was providing gas, liquid gas, to liquid, just gas, through the pipe to the Western Europe, Russian gas, and Ukraine was receiving $800 million per year. So this stopped this week. So in a way, Ukraine sees the light at the end of the tunnel. And therefore they think, listen, in addition to this, of course, if Russia ever attacked Ukraine again, Ukraine should be accepted automatically in NATO. So, those are big boys and big poker players, poker Texas style, that game, yeah? So in a case, this was very, very so-called unusual. Uh, um, by the way, that person that I was telling you that starts with D, his name is Dmitriev.
Dmitriev.
So,
Okay.
yes, I will get you his first name and more information about him. So the question is how to deal, how this knot will be resolved. I think the chances that it will be resolved the coming Saturday or even Sunday. And I'm sure that Trump will not, because by going with Putin in a military action against Ukraine, it would be it will be horrible. First of all, he will destroy the Republican Party because nobody, he can do many things and many fronts and different things happening. And what Trump did in 1 month, I think many presidents didn't accomplish in 4 years. So on one hand, he has the dynamics, he has the energy, he has the wind in his back. He could become really historical transformer of the U.S. policy. And here, for some reason, he was always already at the point of agreeing, selling Ukraine down the river, and it would have been practically impossible. Now, a little bit extra information.
But
Many people in Ukraine, by the way, there is a uh, um, put, Putin quote, no, those are Trump quoted Putin's numbers, which were fake and created in Russia, said Zelensky has only 4% of political support, and where the other people have 50 plus support. For other, primarily it's Poroshenko. But if I don't know if our listeners know about this personality in Ukraine, Arestovich. He's a very smart, very well educated, rounded. He is a psychologist and has a school of psychology. He has we think historian, and he is half Polish, half Ukrainian, and he is extremely appealing. So people like this, if worse comes to worse, and even if they run, there are some people that are capable of doing so. The other one is, of course, the former Prime Minister Poroshenko. Poroshenko is more complex because he is a king of the chocolate and bonbons, but most of his factories are in Russia. Of course, he made his billions on his producers of chocolates and bonbons in Russia. So to become suddenly a president of Ukraine, let's say he runs and wins, where his most capital is in Russia, and defend Russia against their manipulation candidacy. So I gave you, I think, a little bit mishmash, but I hope our
can I
listeners already
can I ask you?
agreed with.
Can I ask you,
Yeah,
Ilya? Here's my hypothetical speculation, very hypothetical. Is it possible that by doing this theatrics towards Zelensky, where Zelensky is called names, well, maybe not names, but dictator, and by Trump, and Trump basically mimics Russian propaganda with regards to Zelensky, it's at this juncture and running, sidestepping Ukraine, running direct negotiation about the fate of Ukraine with Russia in Saudi Arabia without inviting Zelensky. Could it be Trump's way of putting significant pressure on Europe and European leadership, whom he was calling during his first presidency to increase spending on NATO and defense of Europe and to be more equally involved in defending Europe as much as US is involved financially, proportionately. Um,
listen, Sasha, you're talking like me, and it's difficult for me to follow you. Just a moment. The question has to be concise. Yes, I understand that is what was behind that conference in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Why Ukraine was not invited? It was a classical case, historical, where Czechoslovakia in 38 they was not invited on a division, allowing Hitler to conquer or demand actually to give up Czechoslovakia of all its area where was ethnic Germans lived, the area called Sudetenland, and everybody knows that it was an ugly, immoral move by Chamberlain. So I think it was a trap. He wanted even to have extra support, the Trump. I think he played Putin and played for himself extra support where those were not negotiation about Ukraine. He said it was only just talking and testing. Meanwhile, the Secretary of Treasurer and the general went to Ukraine and measured and spoke about the practical thing to do it. I think it was really a classical case of setting up Putin and become, because he will not embrace, he knows that it will be extreme politically, it will be the end of Trump. If he would embrace politically and military Putin and castrate and do whatever do to Ukraine. It's impossible to comprehend. And enough that Vice President Vance gave some shot over the bow, the marine language, to Europeans, that, telling them that you betrayed your old values and we are the carriers of the old conservative values on which pillars the American civilization was built and erected. This way, I would say that where we stay right now. I can give you plenty of information, which minerals, how much they cost, and all those things, and how they're important. I just given, instead of going into details, all that. It's the war over those rare materials is going already for over 10 years. The main controllers of it are Russia and China. Now they can stop and block United States for acquiring additional resources. United States has many also case where those material exist, but the people are not rushing to invest in it because it's kind of a 19th century solution. But the solution is for the being able to produce airplanes, military ships, iPhones. This is the technology of the 21st century. And therefore, United States would like to have it close to have it additional one. Not that the United States doesn't have it, but in a moment of conflict. I would like to add two other elements. That the same Arestovich that I mentioned to you, this intellectual fellow, he is he served. He was an advisor to President Zelensky. Now he accuses him even in stealing money from soldiers, etc., etc. This what I listened to this, and I think he really ugly. And he said he can prove it, but the mechanism of an accounting are highly complicated. I don't think that Zelensky really steal steals money from Ukrainian military and soldiers and not to give him the best. That was too much, but it shows you that some forces in Ukraine that are ready to topple Zelensky.
Speaking of Arestovich, I used to listen to him. He does change shoes on the flight quite frequently, actually. He's, of course, intellectual and he's very well spoken, does interesting analysis and arguments himself very well. But he sometimes about a year ago, there was a massive speech where he started basically taking the Russian side of this conflict. So I'm not sure if he's a good, reliable source for um, of a political opinion nowadays.
Well, I didn't get precisely what you were saying, but it's enough. Instead, you see, the point is uh, the states that are not united, they will lose. You understand?
Yes.
Uh, they will. It's all those things, and the same thing in old star. Always the configuration of states fighting against even as another configuration. They will probably win. It was in old days, this way. Poland and Lithuania were in a way uh, controlled huge territories on the western side of Russia, and they're able to do so. No, there's one other thing that, let's say, it was said long before Putin, a point, I will just make it. There's some simple point. If Ukraine could have put their forces, and then in addition to get allies today with Poland, you know, um, and this will not be within the framework of NATO. It will not invoke the paragraph 5, number 5. It simply will be kind of two neighbors align themselves against the aggressor. The point there is near, look at the map, maybe you will be able to show it, Novaya Kakhovka. This is a central route of Russian advancing into Ukraine and at the same time uh, retaining their territories that they acquired from Russia. But, I would say it's very, very interesting. I wonder if people in Las Vegas betting who will win in the coming round and to what extent Trump was able to entrap Putin, who really jumped and was gigi. From that prospect, suddenly he thinks that President of the United States in his pocket, and seems to me that Trump will try to utilize it, because he simply showed to Zelensky, look, if you are not going with me, I have no other way but to go with to end this war together with Russia, and it will not be of an advantage to you. So at this situation, I think we should pause, think, cogitate, read more. Interesting article. There are not too many of them, but they are, and let's see. But what's interesting, I will just as the final sentence. Ilarionov, who is a Russian, and as I told, um, uh, comes very interesting and detailed, punctual analysis. He was quoting Golda Meir. Suddenly, it was his own political shtick, because most listeners are Jews. I don't know why. He said it what Golda Meir said many years ago, said if Arabs stop shooting, there will be peace. If Israel will stop shooting, there will be no Israel.
Yeah.
You know. So on this
Note.
rabbinical note, I been wishing you a nice weekend, and let's see what's forthcoming 10 days will bring, because the last 10 days shook the world. As you know, this was the title of the book by John Reed,
Yep.
as he was witnessing the Soviet Revolution. Yes. To summarize this topic, I would like to bring 3 points which give me assurance that the solution between the United States and Ukraine will be found in a very near future. The first one is strategic element. What strategic element I have in mind when I say it? Trump, not once, not twice, but many times, stated Iran will not have a nuclear weapon. And B, had he been there, he would have prevented instead of bribing Iranians as Biden did. Indeed, Russia would have demanded from Trump not to destroy the nuclear arsenal of Iran, who is now helping Russia to fight Ukraine. Do you understand? There was some incompatibility, and this incompatibility we could have tested by saying, by asking, by throwing the question to Trump. Does that mean if you go with Russia to divide Ukraine instead of dealing with Zelensky, how would it affect your position of destroying the nuclear threat from Iran? And to Trump would have no reasonable answer. Therefore, he, in a way, played, as I said, with Russia, but actually knew that the only option he has, this is the option with Ukraine. Second element that I would say, it's a commercial. The fight was over the numbers. The old proverb says, if the problem can be solved by money, it's not a problem. It's all the same in American culture. Now, what happened there? Said Trump was saying, you owe us 350 billions, and Zelensky said, no, 100. And indeed, it's 100, said Zelensky. Oh, and now they're trying to put it in writing. But there's more to that, because the moment Ukraine and United States have a deal, it opens to similar deals with other Europeans, which Trump might be interested to get involved as well, though he will keep the lion's share for himself. But at the same time, both Europeans and Americans will be defending the integrity of Ukraine and try to contain the territory that had been lost to Russians. And the final thing, it's a domestic politics. What do I mean by domestic politics? The following thing. There was, maybe I mentioned it, Arestovich, a very, very smart fellow and very educated, very smart. It's a person to admire. However, he served the president, then there was some bad waters between them, and he left, as a matter of fact, somewhere in the United States. And he sends poison arrows against Zelensky, you see? And this would have become a political poisonous apple when Zelensky would have run to, let's say, in a year, in a two. So he Trump understood that he has to stabilize Zelensky as a partner. Therefore, he will support Zelensky, and whatever really helps Zelensky will limit the influence of Arestovich. Those three factors, I would say, make it practically on this day uh, an inescapable conclusion that, as I suspected, the last fourth option of Trump was to create a certain havoc, uncertainty, and then to fetch or fish or obtain a treaty which will be good for Ukraine and good for United States. It's a win-win situation, and Trump loves to use this point as the sharpest point for his argument. Win-win is better than lose-lose.
Well, all right. That's
Okay?
yeah, quite an analysis. Thank you, Ilya.
Sure,
Thank you very
I'm trying
much.
to do the best.
We'll see how it
And I
unfolds.
forgot
Yeah,
and I forgot this point. There are for point number one. So I added two additionals to solidify.
got it. Okay.
Okay.
Au revoir. Thank you.